The ELA instructional guides have been updated for kindergarten through 5th grade for the 2019-2020 school year. Multiple considerations were taken into account as the previous planning support tools went through extensive revisions, including the team utilized feedback provided from teachers who were in the classroom using the tools in the past year. We included more support focusing on standards-based instruction. We provided resources and suggestions that promoted a balanced approach to comprehension and foundational skills instruction. We incorporated places during instruction for students to collaborate with each other. We provided resources and suggestions for differentiated instruction for striving and advanced learners. And we also provided opportunities for students to engage with a variety of authentic texts for different purposes. When you navigate the ELA instructional guide site within the Elementary Language Arts Conference in Ideas, you'll notice that the left side of the site contains a variety of grade-specific resources. You can click here to access resources that will be useful all year long to support. The instructional focus is an at-a-glance document that provides a quick overview of the entire grading period. It includes important dates and events for the grading period, the text referenced during each week of instruction, the focus standards for each week to support backwards planning, and the focus for various components of the ELA block, including word study and writing. In the ELA instructional guide site within the Elementary Language Arts Conference in Ideas, you'll notice that the middle of the site contains folders for the updated instructional guides. You can click here to access the new ELA instructional guides for the 2019-2020 school year. In the ELA instructional guide site within the Elementary Language Arts Conference in Ideas, you'll notice that the right side of the site contains folders for weekly resources. You can click here to access weekly resources mentioned within the instructional guides. You'll find all sorts of supports, including graphic organizers, exit tickets, and printable versions of MyOn Text. Once you open the instructional guides, you'll notice many changes as well as some familiar portions. We are still advocating that during the first 4 weeks of school, you discuss norms, including movement, collaboration, student roles, teacher roles, and expectations for communication as you introduce the Reader's Workshop components. The lesson suggestions within the Establishing a Literacy Classroom portion of the ELA instructional guides are critical to setting the tone, expectations, and structures for student independence that will impact the effectiveness of instruction throughout the year. The amount of time focused on each day will vary according to the needs of your students. The lessons in this section can take place during the time that you would typically dedicate to guided reading and independent reading, as they are focused on building student independency and agency in the classroom. Whenever possible, the skills, mindsets, and habits learned during these lessons should be explicitly reinforced during your shared reading lessons. By starting off your first 4 weeks this way, you will be able to begin your guided reading at the beginning of week 5, with the students knowing the expectations for them while you are meeting with small groups of students. There are several key resources referenced throughout these sections, including the lessons from getting started with independent reading, the first 20 days, Establishing Productive Group Work in the Classroom by Fisher and Fry, and the Reading Strategies book. Look for suggestions from these resources and other places throughout the instructional guides as well. The first 20 days, Establishing Productive Group Work in the Classroom, can be accessed through a hyperlink in the instructional guides. Copies of the Reading Strategies book by Jennifer Saravello have been provided to each school site through the Site-Based Reading Coach, Reading and Writing Resource Teachers, and Reading and Writing Teacher Leaders. Please reach out to these teacher leaders at your school site for access to the strategy lessons in this wonderful resource. One major focus during the revision process for each grade level was to provide supports for teacher clarity. Look for these tips at the beginning of each instructional guide. The Launching the Learning section provides language for communicating the learning goals with students and a way to get students excited about what they will be reading. The Compelling Question for Learning provides an essential question that connects the learning throughout the week, and the Notes to Consider section seeks to build teachers with information that students may struggle with while reading the text. Teacher clarity is also supported throughout the rest of the document. You will notice that within the comprehension section, there is a clearly outlined standards-based weekly focus. For each day of instruction, daily suggestions are provided along with the focus standard and secondary standards that are directly connected to the daily instructional target. Text-dependent questions, teacher language, and instructional moves are suggested along with ways of assessing student learning through exit ticket items and daily tasks. In the 5th grade instructional guides during weeks 6 and 7, you will see there's a focus on metacognitive strategy instruction. There are 3 teacher scripted lessons for students to make predictions, ask questions, clarify understanding, and summarize what they have read. The expectation is that students will continue to use these critical strategies on their own throughout the school year and beyond. Another major change within the instructional guides is the inclusion of suggestions and resources for differentiated instruction targeted towards advanced learners as well as striving learners. These suggestions and resources support students as they access and build background knowledge, develop content knowledge, engage in discussion, and respond to their learning. The new ELA instructional guides support a balance between comprehension instruction and foundational skills instruction. Students need to be able to do both to be successful, and if we ignore either, we are not developing balanced readers. Students need to know how to think about text and how to read the text. You will find that your instructional guides include lessons for vocabulary, phonics, and fluency. You should only spend about 5 minutes modeling. You will see there are plenty of lessons for you. There may even be too much to fit in, and that is why it's recommended you plan for this part of your teaching. There are also specific tasks written for students who need additional practice. As always, if you know a student needs a phonics lesson that's not on the tool provided to you, remember, provide that lesson for them, but remember, word study is always taught with text.
Language arts resources have been updated this year to include what you see here, including requested shared sequential and sequential sets. The 5th grade Explorations unit now has an updated overview provided to help you when using explorations in nonfiction writing with your students. Also, a greater alignment is seen across reading and writing through language standards application, and lesson samples are provided in the first week for each grade level. These include detailed think-alouds and modeled writing examples to enhance student understanding and application. For writing support, please feel free to reach out to Tamisha Creed via IDEA's email. You'll notice on this slide that parts of the Writing Essentials column from the Week 7 instructional guide are shown. This week suggests using a shared sequential set focused on the effects of yoga. This text set can be used during the 1920 school year for both 4th and 5th grade students. A new text set for 5th grade will be added next year to replace this yoga focus. However, take advantage of having cross-grade level conversations about how students in your 4th and 5th grade classes provided the needed weave of evidence and elaboration while remaining focused on the most important evidence to support the prompt. Discussions with colleagues can help solidify how you approach full group instruction and the most important support for students through one-on-one conferences.
Remember, ELA instructional guides are intended to provide guidance and support. You will need to make instructional decisions based on the needs of your students. The detail provided in the instructional guides should allow for more time during planning to be devoted to discussing differentiation and resources to meet students' needs as well as guided reading. Please note that the suggestions within these guides are limited to resources that everyone has access to, like Journeys, News ELA, Common Lit, and Mayan. Teachers have the flexibility to select alternative texts based on student needs, but need to consider the quality and complexity of the text as well as alignment with the standards.
If you have any questions about the 5th grade instructional guides as you dig in and begin reviewing the changes, be sure to check out the notes section at the end of each instructional guide for important clarifications and collaborate with members of your site-based literacy team as you decide how to use the supports offered. Additionally, you can contact Mary Garcet, Academic Coach for Elementary Reading, and/or Tamisha Creed, Supervisor for Elementary Writing, in ideas. We hope you have a wonderful 2019-2020 school year.